you already know this term. You remember it, no? The gymnasium of life, or the gym of life. Who can tell me what it means?
The work out of life.
I have
The work of the life.
but it's hard to explain.
The external world. The internal world.
Yeah, external and internal, no?
Yeah, the work of life.
Or it's realizing that the external is internal. Because we make a difference between the two. There's external life, and in Gnosis we kind of say, just like bahala, right? Don't care about the external life, everything's internal. At the same time, that can be a dangerous phrase, because if we're really awakened, we see that we don't even see an external world, but that everything we see outside of us is a reflection of something inside, especially in terms of our ego, how we interpret others and the world and circumstances. So, on the path, we start to understand that everything happening externally is a lesson for us, is something to teach us. Just like being in a dream. If you're in a dream, right, like right now, you understand that the people aren't real and all the circumstances aren't real. It's something that you're creating in the subconscious. And it's just like that. But we know that we're alive with a physical body, so why is it the same as a dream? And in a sense, you can start to sense the purpose of your life, or you can start to sense how there is a divine purpose behind everything, and that there's something sacred in the physical life too, because everything is a reflection of you. So when we join a group like this, we call it a Gnostic group. Right? We have a label for it. We classify it. We put it in a box in our mind. We say, oh, I'm in a Gnostic group. Right? The mind says, I'm part of something bigger. I'm protected. I'm wiser than others. I'm better than others because I have knowledge that other people don't. Right? I'm in a Gnostic group now. If only that were true, right? That kind of thinking like that, to identify like that, it actually makes the path harder, not easier. Sometimes we can see there's students in groups, and in a sense they are protected because they focus on the path, they do all their duties. And then you see other people out in the world going through so much drama and problems. Which one is learning more? That's
The one with problems.
Right? The one with problems, in a sense. Those are two extreme examples. Because of course the person with a lot of problems externally can just be devoured by it and just become unconscious. Kind of like what we were talking about, right? And the person in the group, they're reflecting everything, they're seeing everything, they're making sure that they're walking the path diligently, but also not letting life touch them a bit, right? Not letting some problems in.
No, like you're in a bubble.
In a bubble, yeah, just like that. Yeah. It's like you say, we can say, I'm a saint, I'm better than this. I won't go to this family party where everyone's hubbub, right? Everyone's drunk and I'm better than that. Well, the more advanced thing to do would be to go there and see if you can still remain conscious, remain yourself. If you go and try to be a saint and try to have this mind identity, oh, I'm a Gnostic, I'm very wise, then you'll make problems because that mask, that ego will become shattered. Right? So the key is just being yourself. So this is a very important teaching by Master Samael in revolutionary psychology. Yeah. That life itself is the teacher. We get teachings in the group, but life itself has just as much importance, if not more, because you can join this group for 1 year, a few years, even 10 years, but it will come to an end at some point, and you're still left with a life, right? And even before you came here, you had a whole childhood. You had like 2 decades, 3 decades. Some people, 50 years before they came here. They already have so much material to retrospect, to understand. So it's life itself, not the group, that is going to show you all your ego, right? It's going to show you all the inner work that we have to do. And as I said, there's this sense that the external life has a divine feeling to it, because our intuition or our being, or a way that Master Samael describes it, he said that, for those who are on the path, those who really have their heart in Gnosis, I'll be there. And I'll be controlling all of your circumstances. And I'll put you in the right position for you to learn. Especially when we're initiated. Not so much the external initiation, but the real one. Once you get to a certain level, there's a new type of law, cosmic law, that starts to control your path and puts you in the right places at the right time, in a way for you to know that whatever bad thing happens, this is for you. It's a gift for you to learn something. So the external life becomes always like a constant sign, or you always have to be with your intuition. So it's our unique karma, right? We all have a very personal, unique karma. The path that we all study is the same, but each of us has a very unique path, a unique tapestry of our own unique life that only we can know. No teacher can tell you it or show you it. So in a sense, that work is more real, the one outside, with the friends, with the family. So we can also see it as a mirror. We're looking directly into a mirror. In some traditions, they call it the self. All of this is just the self. My friend, he likes to call the third factor of sacrifice. He doesn't really see it as sacrifice for others, as a separation, but he says it's a service to self. So when you start helping others, it's not so much that you're helping a different person, it's a service to self, service to your own self, because we're just living in a mirror, right? We're all one, yeah. So every encounter is a mirror. And we always have to ask ourselves, what is happening or what is rising within us in the presence of other people? And what is it showing about ourselves? So Master Samael, he says here, in the Revolution of the Dialectic, interaction with our fellow men, dealing with people, is the mirror where we can see ourselves at full length. In dealing with people, our hidden defects, our egos, our identifications, leap forward. They flourish, and if we are vigilant, we can see them. And I don't think students don't realize how much every interaction has a message. And it's very difficult to see because we interact and have conversations a lot. It's very easy and simple. Even after you had like 1 hour of meditation, you go see your friend, you go straight into the same like mechanical routines of the same conversations. The key is though is just to see it. That's all. But do we have enough fuel to just keep seeing and keep present, especially during interactions? So whatever we perceive in other people, it's actually a reflection of us. the more we realize that, the more easy it is to also be compassionate. And also how we treat others too. How we treat others, or our attitude to others, is also how we treat that part of ourselves. Also, example, parents, right? How you treat the child, in a sense, is how you treat your inner child. If you're very strict and with your child, maybe you're strict with your own innocence or something. Or maybe if you over-mother this one, you're too soft with yourself too. Maybe. Just an observation. So it's whatever that person symbolizes for us, and how we treat them. So yes, this can make us more compassionate too, because we start to understand that person more deeply as ourselves. So, as we said, or we spoke about before, friction is a gift, especially in this kind of group. We can have friction, problems, but in this kind of group, it's the atmosphere of more love, more consciousness, more presence. We're able to transmute that more. And in this sense, friction is the way that we learn from each other also. Even me acting as the teacher, right? I'm learning from everyone. The best teacher makes the best student. The best student makes the best teacher also. So in groups like this, sometimes the student might be learning from one person, the teacher. But that's why we say in the third factor, you learn more by teaching, because the teacher is learning from every single person in the room. So friction is actually a fuel for the inner work. And groups don't have to just be bubbles, but they can be something to learn from too. Brings us closer. I'm not saying that we have to insult each other and have a big fight, but sometimes I think like our group, there is just a lot of harmony, no?
Yeah.
And that's good too. That's a gift. I would say our group is like that more because we're in the Philippines and everyone already has enough problems, no? Outside.
Like, if we go inside here, it's a kind of comfort.
Yeah, a bit of comfort.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes we need that, yeah. It balances the scales. I would say my experience in other countries, very privileged countries, everything is on the surface of their life, there's almost no problem. Financial problems, fine, they got their routine. And then they come to a group and then they bring the problems in the group. Yeah. So there's a balance. It's an interesting thing to observe.
Is it because they get the privilege to have a nice life somehow?
Maybe.
Expect a nice outcome
They're
in their life?
They're already comfortable in the external situations, I would say. And then when they come to this group, they're like, why should I change my beliefs? Or why should I look at ego? Or maybe start everyone's very educated intellectually, so they start criticizing each other more. Not that we don't or can't, or maybe not that we don't in the subconscious a bit, because I think everyone's capable in the world of looking at someone and giving an opinion, but we don't really do it so much.
Filipino, it applies to the house where you live in. Because people surround you just gives you problem. It's already a work of life.
Yeah. So as I said, friction gives fire. And when I say friction, it's like irritation, comments that hurt, maybe, or criticisms left unsaid, things that you might not like or agree about another person. Or also just exasperation. You've been with someone for so long, you see this person doesn't understand, or they're the same way for so long, you get a bit sick of them. It can be like that, Exasperation, it's not so much, it's a different center of the machine. It's not like intellectual, not so much emotional, it's like something became tired of a certain tolerance, and that creates a friction. Not that it's a bad thing, you know? Yeah.
That's a very nice point. Simple.
Yeah. And I think that's a very natural friction, too, you know? So, yeah, in the fifth gospel, Master Samael, he says here, this small group, he's addressing a second chamber group. And so he's actually addressing similar things in our group right now. This small group symbolizes life out there in the external world. Life that is outside this chamber. You know that humanity as a whole is full of terrible defects: anger, greed, lust, envy, pride, laziness, gluttony. So why do we want this small group to be ideal, to be perfect, or to be the ideal? Right? Here is this small group with those same mistakes that the multitudes have. In this small group, there is a marvelous school. There is a formidable gymnasium with your defects, the way you are. This is a marvelous psychological gymnasium. If this small group were to be made up of perfect people, then there would be no need for this group to exist. If everyone reached perfection, for what reason should the group be formed? I like this picture.
He's so proud showing me, look, it's Filipino. It's a Filipino Marites.
Yeah.
Hey, is that AI, brother?
Yeah.
It's not,
ChatGPT.
does it look AI now?
Yeah, it's very
like
good.
our neighbor, but
It's
it's
a
having all
Stolen
the
shot.
Oh, pinaka-stolen siya. Ideal.
Yeah, the hidden half of the mirror. So what you see in another lives also in you, in the part that you cannot see. I'll say that again because I think it hits deep when you reflect on it. What you see in another, especially the bad things, or a bit like this woman giving an evil eye, lives also in you, in the part you cannot see. You're blind to it.
So that's why you get irritated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to admit that you might really have something to do. You might have the same thing inside you. Very hard. This is like a trauma. It's unconscious. It's not subconscious. Unconscious. You can't even detect it. So that's why it's easy to behave on the surface like, oh, look at that person. So, stupid, this person, It's like that. I've been through this many years. And I always see at some point my life shows me. Sometimes it takes months, a week, or the next day. Sometimes years, many years. In some cases, I can bring to my mind now that I have the same thing of this person, and I hate it. I hate when I see it. I can say a family member I grew up with. I hated this person, growing up as a teenager. A lot of resistance. When I'm like 13, 14, 15, 16. Right? I'm 33 now. And sometimes this person just flashes in my mind when I behave in the exact same way. I'm like, that's why I hated that guy so much, because I'm just like him. Really? Yeah, it's horrible, but it's true.
Yeah.
That's why hate is a form of love also.
That's why it's the opposite.
But the question is, who is the Jesus Christ and the Lucifer in both?
There's good and bad in both.
It circles.
But yeah, love and hate, the same spectrum of the same thing, really. So Master Samael says in the fifth gospel, again, that the brother so-and-so said something about the brother so-and-so. Well, the one who said it, instead of saying it, must investigate himself, must reflect. Look at that hidden part of himself, that part one does not see, to see why he said it, to reconsider, right? To shock yourself in that moment and say, just ask yourself, you don't need to see it, but at least try and say, why do I feel that way about that person, right? That the sister so-and-so said something about the sister so-and-so. Well, instead of criticizing, she should self-explore. And surely the mistake she sees in the other sister, she carries it in the hidden part of herself, in the part that one does not see. Yesterday, a very rude old man, a delivery driver, delivered a parcel to me. But he called me first because he couldn't read the map. He didn't know the directions. He blamed me. He was very bastos, like straight away. He blamed me for not, he was blaming and being demeaning. His tone was very irritated and angry, that he blamed me for not being able to find his way here. But the pin was correct, exactly correct. So I got a little triggered because I couldn't believe that he just couldn't follow the pin. I couldn't believe that a delivery driver couldn't read the map, right? And the way that he spoke to me, I got flashes of certain family members and things I grew up with. He reminded me of a family member that I grew up with. Kind of an old trauma, you could say, surfaced. And actually, what I saw in myself was that I saw how severe I am with that part of myself also. Because he was a bit uneducated, or he didn't know how to get here. And I could see that, but throughout my life, the things that I didn't know, I'm quite a knowledgeable and studied and educated person, right? And I can see that I've been whipping myself or being quite harsh with myself. So that's kind of what he symbolized to me in that moment. That, this person who doesn't know, I'm very severe with that part of myself, you see. When he arrived, I just said to him, "You don't know how to read a map, Koya." He just kept blaming me. He continued. He was his tone was very rude. Actually, the seller this was Maxim on Marketplace. The seller had the same problem with him. So he's like this to everyone. But in that moment, I actually felt that this guy was a bit like family to me. In the sense that I had a bit of a smirk on my face. It was a cheeky comment that I made, right? I'm engaging in the friction with him. And he was also smiling back at me too. He's very happy. He doesn't care. He didn't give I could sense our egos enjoying it also. So what I realized was he represented a part of me too. So if I kept holding this thing against him inside myself, I could end up like him. Yes. Because he was the same as me. Because he was calling me stupid, right? Saying, "You're so stupid. Why are you not giving me the correct directions?" And we're the same person. I was calling him stupid because why can't you read a map? You see, so we're both the same person, really. Just the same as me. So yes, these kinds of interactions, even though they seem very little, there's something to reflect and learn from. Very hard to see in the moment. And once we get good at it also, there is a little trap. Because the most dangerous mask in all of this work is the spiritual one. I would say it's very rare. Every person has to go through it to some level, because over time you will feel, if you really commit to the work, you will feel you have a certain power, and you do have a certain consciousness and presence about you. And this challenge always does come up about the one you feel like you've surpassed others, or you feel a bit superior to others in a sense. So there's a relevant quote again by Master Samael. Currently, you are all gathered here as little saints. Yes, that's how it is. People come to the groups feeling a bit superior in a sense, or as saints, as pure and good people. But deep down, you know that there are envies, there are disputes, hatreds, and unhealthy criticisms of each other. Jealousy, pride, things like this. Students compare each other, right? You know it, yet each one sees the mistake in others and does not see it in himself. It does not occur to anyone that he carries within himself the mistake that he sees in others. That does not occur to anyone. And Master Samael doesn't say it directly here, but if we do see it in ourselves, it's like an unspoken magic can occur. That situations that were tense or a lot of friction, they can be transmuted quickly. That's why I said friction in a group like this is very welcome, because it can be transmuted fast. So when we do see ourselves, when we are present, it's easier to practice restraint. It's easier we start to be more critical of ourselves rather than the other person. And externally, we're better able to see the best way to respond or to engage with the other person. Less negativity flows out. It takes a lot of energy to do that. I would say group friction work takes more energy than, sitting in the room by yourself meditating. That's essential. That's the foundation first. You need that first. But yeah, overall, if we can see this, then there's more harmony. Our being grows strong. As Master Samael also said, the one who criticizes others is weak. The one who criticizes himself becomes a giant in his being. So another important part of the book in revolutionary psychology, which is the psychological song. We all know people who keep saying the same stories, the same problems, the same dramas, the same attitude, never change themselves, say the same things about people. They never see the problem themselves. They don't see the story that they're saying. The same wound, the same identification, year after year. So Master Samael says, suddenly one finds someone who says, I, me, in this life, had to do this and that, and this and this. They robbed me. I was a rich man. They swindled me. So-and-so was the bad one who swindled me. And this person just says it for years. This is psychological song. 10 years later, one comes across that same individual and he tells again the same song, the same old song. I know people like this from school. I good friends, and I speak to them again, hoping that we can share something new experiences, things we learned, but they're still in the same thing. The same. I have a friend who, when I was, how old was I? I was very young, and he always wants to do business with me. After many years, I get a thing on Instagram, no hi, no how are you, it's just like, Gene, I got this business proposal, we can make a lot of money. It's just, it doesn't change, it's just the same thing. Okay, so yes, 10 years later, one comes across the same individual and he tells again his same old song. 20 years later, he meets him and he narrates again his same old song. He remained identified with that event for the rest of his life. Under those circumstances, how is one going to dissolve the ego? In what way, if one is fortifying it? what wounds you is also what reveals you. The difficulty is the doorway, is to see it in that moment. So Master Samael continues, the worst circumstances of life, the most critical situations, the most difficult events are the most favorable for intimate self-discovery. If one, instead of losing one's head, identifying, being fascinated with the things of life, were to remember himself, he would discover with astonishment certain eyes, certain egos, of which he had never the slightest idea or suspicion. Being far away from the psychological gymnasium, self-discovery is impossible. It is in the psychological gymnasium of life where we can self-discover. In other words, if you lock yourself in a room somewhere or in a mountain, very hard to know yourself deeply. You could definitely have very nice meditation and things like this, but almost every master went through this, even in the times of Jesus. Jesus spent most of his life in nature, but he would always go back to the cities, always go back to getting involved with people so that something might arise in them. So it's important to always take criticisms, things that wound us, take it to heart, and really consider it. Even me on YouTube, I've had many criticisms, negative comments. Many times it's very hard to hear. Or in the moment, it's like you want to brush it off. Like, I don't care, what this person said. But today I'm grateful that it helped me to refine myself and really consider something that helped. Another example is like breakups. That's a big thing, right? Often people find that's like one of the worst circumstances in your life, to break up with someone. I remember in an old relationship, I went through a breakup. It's not nice to go through, but it also revealed so many of my own mistakes. And that's a great time for inner work. Imagine someone who goes through a breakup, and I know people who have gone through breakup, and they're just completely justified. And they don't think there's anything to improve about themselves. This is a madness, no. Of course, something was not perfect, right? Something for you to learn.